Hello everyone, welcome to Science Prodigy. Today we will be starting with the second chapter of class 9 physics, that is the motion in one dimension or motion in 1D. So let's go for the intro part first of all, that when we talk about motion, what is rest, what is motion, how do we identify or actually go for describing it in general. Whenever I say a body is at rest, that means it, from my frame of reference, it is at rest. Whenever we describe rest, we describe motion, we always do it with a particular frame of reference, that is with respect to which one I am going to tell this. For example, I am looking at a stationary tree. Obviously tree will be stationary, so according to me it seems that the tree is at rest because I am the frame of reference. Maybe I am sitting, so I am also not in a state of motion, I am sitting at a place and I observe that the tree is at rest. So it looks at me, it looks according to me that the tree is at rest because I am also not moving. But suppose there is a tree present on a platform and a train is passing by the platform. So for any passenger sitting inside the train, the tree will be appearing to move backwards. Because the train is moving forward, that particular stationary tree will appear to move backwards for a passenger sitting inside the train. It is very natural. So the frame of reference in this case is the passenger sitting inside a moving train, and for that passenger, for his frame of reference, this tree is not stationary, the tree is in motion, moving backwards. So always whenever we try to say that this thing is in motion, this thing is in rest, we have to understand what is the frame of reference with respect to which I am trying to say that it is at rest or it is at motion. So frame of reference plays a very important role. So how do I define rest? How do I define motion? A body is said to be at rest. Hear me very carefully, a body is said to be at rest if it is not changing its position with respect to its immediate surroundings. Immediate means just at that point of time whatever things are present in its surrounding. At the same way, a body is said to be at motion if it is changing its position. Motion means only it has to change its position. Again, mention this, that changing its position with respect to its immediate surroundings. So with that way we actually begin with classifying rest and motion. But now there is one more interesting fact, and the fact is there is no body in this universe which is at absolute rest. Absolute rest means completely at rest. That is for one particular frame of reference, for any one particular specific frame of reference, the body will look at rest. Hence it is not like that. That is for me, means for me a stationary train, when I am stationary, the stationary train, so the stationary tree looks like it is stationary. But when I see it as when an astronaut sees the earth is moving. So as a result, the tree present in the earth is also moving. So the frame of reference, when the frame of reference becomes an astronaut, the astronaut can very well figure out that the earth is rotating and going for its revolution. So as a planet it is moving, so every part, every human being and everything constituting the earth is actually in motion. So again we can say that we are always in a state of continuous motion even though we appear to be at rest. And according to several astronomers as well, every planet, every star, the galaxies, all of them are in a state of motion. So if we see the stars, the galaxies and everything, they are all in a state of random motion. That means there is nothing called absolute rest, that there will be certain frame of reference for which you are in a state of motion. Maybe for me you are not in a state of motion, but there is a frame of reference for which the object which appears to be at rest is not absolutely at rest. So there is no absolute rest And whenever we describe rest and motion, we have to go for seeing the frame of reference. Now moving forward to the defining of physical quantities into scalar and vector quantity. What is a scalar? What is a vector quantity? How do we differentiate between a scalar and a vector quantity? So whenever I say a scalar means a simple magnitude. The term scalar means a simple magnitude. So any scalar quantity is that quantity which can be defined completely with its magnitude and unit. It has a magnitude, it has a unit. For example, length is a scalar quantity. The moment I say this rope is of 10-meter length, the definition is totally correct. The definition of the physical quantity length is totally done properly. I measured the magnitude, I mentioned the magnitude 10, I used the unit. So to define any kind of a scalar quantity like length, time, mass, charge, being a scalar quantity, defining the magnitude and the unit is very necessary. Defining the magnitude and the unit describes it in a whole frame. That's enough. But whenever I am talking about a vector quantity, a vector quantity can be defined fully if I am defining it using its magnitude, direction and unit. So if I say a vector quantity like displacement, that the body has displaced 5 meters, it is incomplete. It is wrong, because for a vector quantity, mentioning the direction along with the magnitude and the unit is extremely important. Okay, so for vector quantities are displacement. Okay, so distance is a scalar quantity, displacement is a vector quantity, speed is a scalar quantity, velocity is a vector quantity. Whenever we say acceleration, acceleration is also a vector quantity. Okay, so vector means magnitude, direction and unit, scalar means only magnitude and unit. So now if I try to differentiate between distance and displacement, right? So now the distance is a scalar quantity, just now I said. So distance is 10 meters, the definition is complete. But for displacement we have to mention displacement is in 10 meters to the west or 10 meters to the north. Then displacement is defined completely. So this is the first point of difference, that distance is a scalar quantity, displacement is a vector quantity. The second point of difference is a very common point of difference, that is whenever we traverse a circular path, right? In a movement of a circular path, the distance moved is, if I go for normal assumption for a circle, the distance is the circumference of this one, the distance moved is 2 pi r, where r is the radius of the circular path, 2 pi r meter, being more specific if the distance has to be measured in meter. So this is done, but that is if I start from this point, I end up at this point, still the distance moved is 2 pi r meter, it's okay. But when I start from this point and then I end up in the same point, displacement is 0, because displacement depends on the initial position and the final position. That is, in this case, what if I am saying the find the distance between this point and this point. Distance is this path. That is from this path to this path, this is the distance. If I have gone to this way, suppose I have followed this particular path only to reach from this point, I am trying to go to this point and I have followed this path. So this is the distance moved. But whenever I am asked, say the displacement is always the shortest possible path. I repeat, the shortest possible path from the initial position to the final position. That is, this was the initial position, this was the final position. So what can be the shortest possible path? In general, shortest possible path means only the perpendicular distance. But here we can very well see the line joining these 2 points directly is the shortest possible path. So the line joining the initial and the final position directly is the value of the displacement. Displacement means only I am searching for the shortest possible path from the initial position to the final position. So for traversing around a circular path from this point to again this point, the distance moved is 2 pi r. But now this was the initial path and this is only the final point. So what is the displacement? What is the distance which is present between the initial point and the final point? 0. Because this is only the initial point, this is only the final point. So the particular distance moved from the initial to the final point, that displacement is 0, because initial point and the final point coincide. So this is also the second point of difference between distance and displacement, that in moving through a circular path there is a distance moved, but while traversing through one complete circular path the displacement is 0. Okay, so this is how distance is the actual distance covered. It is the actual distance covered from moving from this point to this point. But displacement is the shortest possible path from the initial point to the final point. So this is how we differentiate between these 2 quantities, distance, which is a scalar quantity, and displacement, which is a vector quantity. So now moving forward to velocity. Whenever I say velocity, I have to keep in mind that it is a vector quantity as well. It has a magnitude and a direction as well as a unit. So whenever I am asked to specify velocity, it is different from specifying speed. The same difference goes on here as well. Just like the difference of distance and displacement, the same kind of difference goes for velocity and speed as well, because speed is scalar, velocity is a vector quantity. So now if we go for what is a uniform motion, what is a non-uniform motion. So if I am said uniform motion, that means a particle or any particular object that travels equal distances in equal intervals of time. So when I say it is a uniform motion, uniform means if I see the first 10 seconds of motion, it is moving 10 meter. If I study it again with the remaining 10 seconds of its motion, it is 10 meter. So it is a uniform motion when it travels equal distances in equal interval of time. The time interval is also kept the same, so that the comparative study becomes easier. So uniform motion is when an object or a particle travels equal distances in equal intervals of time. So what is the definition of non-uniform motion? When I say non-uniform motion, that means the body is actually covering unequal distances in equal intervals of time. That is, for the first 10 seconds, maybe it is covering 5 meter. For the next 10 seconds, it is covering 15 meter. So now we can easily figure this out, that it is actually having a non-uniform motion because it covers unequal distances studied at the equal interval of time. So as I said, speed is a scalar quantity, so it is distance by time, and velocity is a vector quantity, so it is displacement by time. But when I am asked to find the average speed is not v1 plus v2 by 2, no. Average speed is the total distance travelled by the total time taken, that is the average. Total distance by total time, not first displacement, second distance, first velocity, second velocity, v1 plus v2 by 2, no, that is not average. Average means only, register this in your mind, total distance travelled by total distance, total time taken. So I have also given a question to make this more clear. The question says that a motor car travels a certain distance with a speed of 50 km per hour and returns with a speed of 40 km per hour. So calculate the average speed of the journey. So now if I see that he is travelling this distance, suppose the distance be x, okay, let the distance be x meter. Sorry, here it is in kilometer, so I can go for taking it as x kilometer. So he is traveling in the forward direction of x kilometer with a speed of 50 kilometer per hour. Now he is returning back the same distance, because the amount of distance it has travelled for moving to this point, the same distance, but this time he is returning with a speed of 40 kilometer per hour. So just now, as I said, average velocity is total distance by total time, right? So if I see u average, what is the total distance? X for moving in the forward direction plus x for moving in the backward direction, that is, it turns out to be 2x. And what is the total time? Total time is, how do we calculate time? Distance by speed. So for the forward journey, the time taken was x by 50, and for the backward journey, the time taken is x by 40, distance by time, okay. Now, as I can see, 2x by taking x common from this two, it is 1 by 50 plus 1 by 40, right? X gets cancelled. Now, we go for the LCM of 50 and 40. The LCM is 200. So, for this particular LCM, if I say this is 200, it is 50 into 4 and 40 into 5, isn't it? So, as a result, I can easily figure this out, that the average speed is 200 goes up 2 into 200 by 9 kilometer per hour. Mentioning the unit is very important. So this is 400 by 9 kilometer per hour. Okay. Now when we talk about instantaneous speed, we refer to the speed at a certain instant of time. That is, when I say the speed is instantaneous, so I am trying to take the speed at a point of time when I am saying instantaneous, that means I am considering it for a time delta S delta t, that is ds dt. That is for a very small fraction of time I am considering what is the specific, dt means a very small distance and a very small time, what is the particular velocity of the speed of the object. So that will give me the instantaneous speed. What is its speed at that particular instant? Because when I go for the average speed, I don't know what was its speed at that point of instance, because I am going for the average, that is the average of the entire journey. I don't know what happened in between. So instantaneous speed is equally important. But when it is a uniform motion, that means the body is actually traveling with a constant speed throughout the motion. So constant speed means that is the instantaneous speed will be at any point of time, the instantaneous speed will be yielding me the same value, because it is constant, because it is in a constant state of motion, having a constant motion, uniform motion. So any instantaneous velocity will be the same, and that will only be equal to the average velocity or the average speed. So instantaneous speed is equal to the average speed if the body is in uniform motion, because ultimately they will become equal due to the uniformity in their motion. Now I have given down question number 2. Note down the data. It says that Richa takes 15 minutes to go from her home to school. So she is going from home to school by taking a time of 15 minutes. So if I actually go for writing it in this way, if this is her home, she is going to her school, it is taking her 15 minutes and 20 minutes for the return journey. For returning, she is taking an approximate 20 minutes. The distance between the school and her home is 3.5 kilometer. So it is asked, find the average speed and the average velocity. So I hope the question is very much clear to you. Average speed, average velocity, as I said, it is nothing but for average speed it is total distance by total time. So let us check it out. For the first part, we can see that average speed means we have to take the total distance, that is the distance from home to school plus the distance from school to home. That means it is 3.5 home to school plus school to home. 3.5. The value is in kilometers, so I can go for converting it in meter. So it will be into 1000 by the total time. Total time is 15 minutes plus 20 minutes. I can go for taking it in the SI system, that is meter per second. That will be much more good if I don't keep it in a mixed unit but go for the SI system. So for that I will multiply minute into 60 so that I can get this particular value of the average speed in meter per second. So our answer is 7 into 1000 by 35 into 60. Now if we go for the cancellation part, we see that our answer arrives at 10 by 3 meter per second, which is nothing but 3.33 meter per second. So the average speed was the total distance by the total time. Now the next part is, what is the average velocity? Average velocity means total displacement by the total time. So what is the total displacement? Displacement means the shortest possible path from initial position to the final position. Here the initial position was our home. Initial point, goes to school, returns back. Home is the final point. So what do we see? That the initial point and the final point coincide. So what is the total displacement? 0. So the average speed, average velocity is equal to 0 by whatever be the time, because the total displacement is only 0. So the average velocity for her entire journey is 0, but she has an average speed which is 10 by 3 meter per second. So whenever we go for the questions, that is a distance is covered, find certain distance has been covered, find the speed. So we always consider for all these questions that there is a uniform motion, there is a constant speed being maintained during the entire motion. That is, find the distance if this object travels at this speed at this time frame. So we consider that during this entire time frame it is at a uniform motion, and this is the constant speed which it is abiding. So for the constant speed only we can apply S is equal to Vt. In general this is not possible without constant speed or uniform motion. Now whenever we are talking about uniform motion, how can we go for plotting uniform motion in a graph? If I plot uniform motion in a graph, as I have already said the definition earlier, equal distances are covered in equal intervals of time. So it will be a straight line passing through origin, means in this way, that is, which is equally inclined to both the axes. Why equally inclined? Because it is a equal distance being traversed. Not necessarily it will be equally inclined, it can have a greater slope as well, but for normal exact thing I just said this. So it should be a straight line passing in between both the axes. Okay. So this should be the thing when we actually represent a uniform motion. Okay. Now when we are representing a non-uniform motion, that means unequal distances travelled in equal intervals of time. So it will be not a uniform graph, maybe this sort of a graph. It shows that this is a non-uniform motion, or maybe this type of a graph where it is somewhat this sort of between x and t. That means the distance is very much irregular. So this shows that it is a non-uniform motion. So this is how we indicate the non-uniform displacement time graph. Now moving forward to acceleration. When I say acceleration, acceleration is nothing but the change in velocity by the change in time. Acceleration is also a vectored quantity. We need to specify its direction at the same time. So as I said, acceleration is nothing but change in velocity by the change in time. Vectors are always denoted in with the arrow over their head, which shows that they have a direction. So this is very important notation, okay, when we go for the definition of a vector. Now acceleration can be of two types. It can either be positive or if it is negative, that is normal acceleration, or negative acceleration is nothing but we call it deceleration or retardation. That is when its change in velocity is decreasing. That means the velocity is actually decreasing with respect to time. That means it is retarding in a particular direction. But the moment there is an increase in the velocity with respect to time, that implies if delta v is positive, acceleration will be positive. If delta v is negative, acceleration will be negative. So if there is an increase in speed, it is a positive acceleration. If there is a decrease in speed, this is a negative acceleration, also defined as, also called as deceleration or retardation. So with this we end today's video. In the next class I will be continuing with the equations of uniformly accelerated motion, numericals based on them, and the important theory parts in the later half of the chapter. So we will be continuing from where we stopped in the next video. Till then, keep watching, keep studying. Thanks for watching.